Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. Promoter Lou DiBella said he would be shocked if Deontay Wilder looks exceptional versus Luis Ortiz and Team Joshua Eddie Hearn come to the table quickly to make Joshua versus Wilder. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. March 3rd, this Saturday is going down. WBC champion Deontay Wilder, Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, versus Luis King Kong Ortiz. And I'm looking forward to that. It should be a very good fight. Before I get started, I have to give a big shout out to Iole of Yahoo Sports. The man has been all over it, and he's been covering. He has a YouTube channel. He's been doing these Skype type interviews with everybody from Sean Porter to Keith Thurman, Eddie Hearn. This one that I'm talking about right now is Lou DiBella, promoter. And he's been doing a great job. Aside from just providing the content, I feel he's really doing a great service by asking good questions, being reasonable, level-headed, and again, asking good questions that I think the fans want to hear. So shout out to Iole for that. Now I want to talk about some things he said with Lou DiBella. And Lou DiBella was talking about if Wilder looks great versus Luis Ortiz and rips through him and knocks him out and beats him, he says he'd be surprised and shocked if Team Joshua come to the table and try to make the fight quickly. He says, I'm holding out hope. That'd be great, but I'd still be surprised. This is what he said directly. He said Anthony Joshua wouldn't get in the same room as Luis Ortiz. He says, Iole basically at this point said, oh, I don't know about that. What about Joshua fought against Vladimir Klitschko? And DiBella countered. He says that wasn't the Vladimir that we all know. He said Vladimir was like 41 when he fought Joshua. He was not the same fighter. Had he been 2 or 3 years before that, he says he would have knocked out Joshua, right? He said that version of Vladimir Klitschko was coming off a 12-round shellacking from pillar to post by Tyson Fury. That wasn't a good victory. That was the first time Vladimir had a guy doing the chicken dance in a couple of years. If Vladimir had anyone hurt like that 2 to 3 years ago, he would have knocked them out, right? And he goes on to say, if Deontay Wilder knocks out this guy, Ortiz, if he knocks him out, do you think this is any incentive to Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua to make the fight quickly? If Deontay looks great and rips through Luis Ortiz, I'd be shocked if they come to the table to make the fight quickly, right? And he rolled his eyes because Lou DiBella when he was talking to Iole said, I had Eddie Hearn on the horn, and he mentioned Gerald Big Baby Miller, and then you see Lou DiBella, who's a promoter from New York, and Big Baby's also from New York, from Brooklyn, and he's promoted Big Baby some of his fights. He rolled his eyes. And Lou DiBella basically says the fight will happen when they're ready to be serious and make the fight happen. Talking about Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, Team Joshua. Lou DiBella, finally in closing, he says Joshua, he could fight the Bozo the Clown out there in the UK and sell 60,000 seats. Why do you think he's talking about Gerald Miller? Why is he talking about switching networks too? Why is he doing all these things? So again, it sounds like Lou DiBella is full of doubts in terms of the seriousness from Team Joshua in making the fight. Now, listen, I like Lou DiBella. I mean, he's a straight shooter. He kind of gets to the point. He's at times brash. I like it. I mean, I think we need more people, especially promoters, who just kind of cut the fat and get straight to the meat, pause, in the sport of boxing. So I like DiBella, and you know what, in this particular given situation, I agree with him. I agree with him in a lot of ways, and I can explain that. A lot of what he's saying is what I've been telling you guys as well. It's Team Joshua. they're saying they want to fight Wilder, but there's certain things that has to be brought into question. For example, last year Wilder was like, I'm the bronze bomber. I'm so frustrated. I want to fight Joshua. Stop, run. And he's doing all these call outs, he beats Bermane Stiverne impressively in November. In October, Joshua beat Carlos Takam, and they asked him after the Takam performance, who do you want? Joshua didn't really say anything, but Eddie Hearn promised that in 2018 the Wilder fight would happen, right? Joshua Wilder. And you have to question little things like, why did Eddie Hearn mention Wilder should build his profile by fighting against a guy like Dillian Whyte, right? Build his UK profile and presence. But fast forward to the future, you got to pay attention to what people tell you, especially promoters, because a lot of times there's a hidden interest that they have to account for. So again, a champion like Wilder, outspoken, he's, aside from Joshua, I would say him and Tyson Fury are the next biggest known people in the division, and I don't really consider Tyson Fury until I see what he's looking like in a comeback. So for right now, to otherwise prove, until we actually see Tyson Fury with a fight in the ring, then I would say the next biggest person to Joshua would be Deontay Wilder. He's the one going viral with the Bermane Stiverne 2 knockout, etc. So my point being is, why is it that he, as a champion, had to, according to Eddie Hearn, he should build his profile to get a Joshua fight by fighting Dillian Whyte, a guy Anthony Joshua knocked out. And now he's been on record saying that Joshua might come to the United States of America, Brooklyn specifically, where Gerald Big Baby Miller is from, and fight against Gerald Big Baby Miller if he looks good versus a guy that Wilder knocked out, Johan Duhapa, right? So why is Joshua willing to come to America? Because you have to pay attention. Wilder said, I'll fight him anywhere. My belt says heavyweight champion of the world. He says, I'll go to the UK if need be, but I'm telling you right here and now, the money's in America. People said, oh, Wilder's trying to sell his belt. Oh, Wilder's scared. Oh, Wilder just wants to bring the fight here and give him an advantage, right? So again, fast forward to the future. Why throw out a Dillian Whyte, right? A Dillian Whyte fight for Deontay Wilder, the champion, which would be a unification, but Gerald Big Baby Miller for fighting, for all intents and purposes, Deontay Wilder's leftovers and Alexander Povetkin's leftovers, right? Because they both knocked out Johan Duhaupas, right? Why would Joshua be willing to come to America to fight Gerald Big Baby Miller, who has no belt, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. So I agree with Lou DiBella on a lot of points, and you have to analyze and ask yourself this. I also agree on the Klitschko performance. Maybe DiBella was slightly harsh in it. I still think that's the best name on Joshua's resume. I think it's a very good win. But a lot of what he said, I brought up too. Truth be told, fact is fact. Although Klitschko is an icon, definite Hall of Famer, the truth is he was coming off of a horrible performance versus Tyson Fury. In fact, I had him losing the whole front half of the fight versus Tyson Fury. It wasn't until he started to kind of somewhat go for broke in the later rounds, and neither guy was throwing a mass amount of punches, even for the heavyweight division. You know what I mean? So he didn't hold a good account of himself in that fight. Came off a long layoff, lost all of his belts, and then he fought Joshua, right? You have to consider who they are. And like when Floyd Mayweather fought Canelo was an undefeated guy coming off an Austin Trout win, which is supposed to be a dangerous fight for him. You know what I mean? But we look at Klitschko, he was 41 years old, and he was coming off of an embarrassing loss to Tyson Fury, where he was totally outboxed, and he did little about it until maybe the last couple of rounds. Each fighter coming off of an embarrassing performance where he lost convincingly to Tyson Fury. And that's the moment Joshua fought him. Fast forward to the Wilder Joshua. Obviously, Wilder has to get past Luis Ortiz, which Luis Ortiz, we all know, is no punk. He's no pushover. So that in itself is a challenge. I've been on record saying I think Wilder has a harder opponent, all things considered, than Joshua. No disrespect to Joseph Parker, met the dude, cool dude, but I think Luis Ortiz stylistically has created. He has a style that's just southpaw. He's 6'4", light on his feet when need be. He showed you that in the Bryant Jennings fight. So I think Wilder has the tougher fight. Joseph Parker, in my honest opinion, since he's become champion, he hasn't really looked sensational. You know what I mean? The Andy Ruiz, where he fought for the vacant belt, he won via split decision, I think. And then he had a fight with Raz Kovajan or something, an unknown guy. He didn't look particularly great. The Huey Fury wasn't particularly a good performance. You know what I'm saying? So Joseph Parker, since becoming champion, he just hasn't looked sensational. So hopefully maybe he can elevate his game, knowing he's fighting Anthony Joshua. To be honest, I thought Joseph Parker was looking better before he became champion. You know, I've seen some of his fights before. I think maybe even the Carlos Takam was before he became a champion. And he actually looked better before he became a champion to me. So, I mean, I agree with Lou DiBella. I think Ortiz is rightfully considered a threat. It's a dangerous fight. And I don't know. I mean, Ortiz he's just a problem. Very good boxer. And Lou DiBella says Anthony Joshua wouldn't even get in the same room as Luis Ortiz. And he's obviously alluding to, if you guys remember before the WBC findings of the adverse test or the failed drug test, Luis Ortiz was the #1 mandatory for Anthony Joshua or Joshua Klitschko winner. And obviously Joshua won that fight. And you never really seen Matchroom or Team Joshua talk much about the fight. And Joshua won and beat Klitschko, and he's with Matchroom. And Luis Ortiz was briefly with Matchroom. He had signed a couple fight deal or something. So how come that fight never happened? So, I mean, bottom line is the haters get mad, but you have to give credit to Deontay Wilder, because not once, but twice, you see an instance where Deontay Wilder is running towards the fire. The boogeyman, the dangerous Cuban, the southpaw, right? He could have easily said, oh man, this motherfucker failing drug test, looked the other way and never looked back. And he would rightfully kind of be justified. Like, you could just say, oh, I'm not fighting a drug cheat. Ha ha ha. I mean, if you look at the UFC, Ronda Rousey did that. She did that exact same thing. And it wasn't even a drug test for her fight. Chris Cyborg failed a drug test, I think for Gina Carano or whatever fight. She failed a PEDS test. And Ronda Rousey, if you go do the research, Google it, she was doing interviews calling Chris Cyborg a man, saying she was on steroids, saying she was juicing. And they were never signed to fight. Ronda Rousey, Chris Cyborg were never signed to fight. But Ronda Rousey used that as an excuse to not get in that cage with Chris Cyborg. You know what I mean? So Wilder, if he didn't have the heart, he could have easily said, oh, he failed a drug test, even though he soothed it over, Team Ortiz soothed it over with the WBC. I don't trust him. I'm not fighting him. You know what I mean? Even look at the Floyd Mayweather versus Maidana glove situation. Floyd Mayweather found the gloves with the light padding, and he felt they had been tampered with. So Floyd paid money just so Maidana didn't get to wear a different pair of puncher's gloves, Everlast MXs. You know what I'm saying? He paid like some hush money or whatever you want to call it to Team Maidana to not be able to wear those gloves because he didn't trust it. He didn't trust the situation. Like, y'all might have fooled with these gloves, man. I'm not taking no chances right there, right? And then you have a guy like Deontay Wilder in this situation. He could have easily used the failed drug test, even though it was cleared through the WBC. He could have used it as a scapegoat as to why he's not fighting Luis Ortiz. So give the man credit. Win, lose, or draw. That's what greatness does. That's what great fighters do. You know what I mean? Good fighters, champions, that's what you're supposed to do. That type of stuff, not have a bunch of million excuses. So anyway, relating this back to Joshua Wilder, I have to agree with Lou DiBella. Again, I'm not wishing, this is not like I'm putting a hex on boxing, because I've told you I want to see Joshua Wilder, but I agree with DiBella. If Wilder does another Bermain Stavern type highlight reel type, you got destroyed and this is now viral type of win over Luis Ortiz, who is undefeated, we've never seen knocked out, is an excellent technical boxer and a southpaw. If he puts on another performance like that, I don't really see Eddie Hearn and Team Joshua chomping at the bit to pick Wilder next. I mean, and there's so many reasons. And a couple months ago, last year, when I was saying a lot of the same reasons, a lot of what Lou DiBella is saying right now, when I was saying those things, it was frowned upon. There were a lot of guys from the UK getting at, oh, you're just hating and give it some time. He said he'll fight him, but you got to look at what's in front of you at certain times. Even the Joseph Parker fight, it's not a bad fight, but Parker has one belt, and if you can negotiate with Parker for his one belt unification, then why couldn't Wilder have been the first order of business for 2018? So to me, that's Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. They know that Deontay Wilder is a threat, and they wanted to build up the fight and all this. That's why they're talking about Joshua potentially facing Alexander Povetkin, potentially facing Tyson Fury if he wants to come back with no tune-up fights, potentially talking about fighting Gerald Big Baby Miller. Those are the reasons. The number one fight at heavyweight right now, from what I've seen, including my own opinion, is Joshua Wilder. I think it does the biggest blockbuster numbers, and I also think it's a great fight stylistically and everything. If Tyson Fury and Joshua fight, I don't really know anybody who's out there that will suggest that that fight would be more electric and combustive than two knockout artists that are both, you know what I mean, in their prime or whatever, fighting each other. So again, I agree with Lou DiBella. There's a lot of signs, and I think as fans, we might be hard pressed to see Joshua Wilder next if Wilder does a demo job on Luis Ortiz. Now, if he struggles and gets knocked down, and you know what I mean, like when he fought Eric Molina, where he got rocked and it was visible, if something like that happens, then maybe, because it's boxing, and that's kind of what sometimes what it takes. Canelo didn't seem like he was super eager to fight Golovkin until the Kell Brook fight, and Daniel Jacobs went to 12 rounds with Triple G ending his knockout streak. So that's what happens in boxing. When people see vulnerabilities, they're like, oh, okay, I got him. You know what I mean? I got it on lock. So we'll see what happens. I'm not going to jump to a bunch of conclusions, because first, Joshua got to get past Joseph Parker, and Wilder got to get past Ortiz, and neither of those are pushover fights. Let me know what you guys think. If Wilder looks great versus Luis Ortiz and wins impressively, will Eddie Hearn and team make Joshua Wilder next, or will they go a different route like Gerald Big Baby Miller? Again, there's just a lot of questions I have. Like I said, Gerald Big Baby Miller is my dude. Shout out to him. I'm not hating. I'm happy if he gets an opportunity at greatness or opportunity at a title. But you can't say that any challenger has done more than the champion in these situations, like all things considered. Like I said, if Miller, all he has to do to get the Joshua fight is fight Mariusz Wech, who Povetkin stopped, who Klitschko beat, right? And then beat someone that Deontay Wilder knocked out a couple years ago when he was coming off a good Robert Helenius performance, who beat Johan Duhaupas knocked out Robert Helenius, who just fought Dillian White. You know what I'm saying? So Miller beating someone that Wilder beat a couple years ago, how does that grant him an AJ fight more than a champion? You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how this plays out. Saturday it goes down. I can't wait. March Madness. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.